to do it on Zoom. I'm like, well, I might as well just record it for her.
Yeah,
So that,
that's a lot easier.
okay. We are recording right now, my darling.
Okay. So yeah, it's basically just like a midterm assignment. And I just have to like pick someone that I'm interested in to like do a profile on. And I just thought it would be really interesting to talk to you and kind of like how you got into your energy work and like how you kind of started your own business and how it got like so successful.
So we're going back a good many, we're going back a good many years. What do you want to ask questions or, ask me a question so I know where to start?
Okay, sounds good. I got a lot of questions written down. Okay. I'm just gonna start with the basics.
Okay.
So your full name, please.
My full name, well, my maiden name is actually Ionelli, so it's Joan Ionelli Turner. But even when I got divorced, my business certificate and everything was in the name Turner, so I kept the Turner. It was
Got it.
easier than changing all the paperwork around.
Fair enough. And do you have a middle name?
I have no middle name.
Ooh,
I'm
okay.
lucky I have a first name. When I was born, you didn't need to have a name for the baby when you left the hospital. So my family is of Italian descent and my grandmother didn't speak any English. So so they were trying to come up with a name that my grandmother could say in Italian. So for 3 months I was just the baby. So I'm lucky I have a name at all. I'm like, all right, fine, I don't need a name. So just Joan. That's it.
Sounds good. So you were born in America though, right?
I was born in America. My family, my mother was one of eight, first one born in America. She had four siblings that were born in Italy. My grandmother, the jokes about the old folk coming on the boat with the kids and the $11 in the pocket. My grandmother was one of those, and my grandfather had come out first and got a house and a job and all this and that. And then when he was ready, he sent for his wife and his kids, and then they had four more after that. So there were eight of them all together.
Oh, wow. I think I think my dad's family was similar. They were from Italy and they like kind of did the same thing. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. In those days, they didn't have all all the precautions we have today.
Okay. So what state were you born in?
I was born in Massachusetts, a city of Malden. Born in Malden Hospital, but lived in Medford until I was about 7 years old. Then I moved to Billerica and was there until I got married. So I was there for 20 years because I got married when I was 20, and that was in the 70s. I got divorced in the 80s. So I lived in Lowell for a while, then moved back to Billerica when I got divorced, and I've been now in Bradford, which is part of Haverhill, for oh gosh, I want to say 28, 29 years now. So it's been a while. Okay, I'm gonna go pour.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, my
Yeah, feed him again. Okay. Talking to my mom. Um, okay. Next question. This is gonna be a little weird. Well, not weird, but it's do you have a favorite color and why?
I have, you know what? I do have a favorite color, and it's always been dusty rose, and I was just always drawn to the color because I like the color pink. The dusty rose is a combination of pink and brown. Brown is a very earthy color. I'm a Virgo, so I'm definitely earthy. And pink because I'm a girly girl, I guess. I don't know. That's what I'm told anyway. I'm a girly girl. So those are why I'm drawn to those colors. Now, doing energy work and holistic work and finding out what the colors mean. Pink is actually the color of sensitivity, someone who's very sensitive. So if you see a lot of pink in like someone's aura, their aura field, means that they're very sensitive. Sometimes they can be too sensitive. Like if you look at them sideways, they're like, "Oh my God, what did I do now?" That type of thing. So as an artist, I'm into a lot of colors, and it kind of depends on my mood. But pink has been an ongoing favorite.
And since you kind of mentioned your work, I know you do like a lot of stuff, like you do a lot of energy and hypnosis and painting. So, like, how would you describe, like, if someone asked you what you do, how would you describe it?
I say I'm a student of life. That's my standard answer because the older I get, the more I realize I don't know too much. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I thought I knew everything. I thought I had all the answers, blah, 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 so that. But as you get older, you kind of figure out, gee, there's so much more that I just don't know. So I say a student of life. The way that I made my living before I became semi-retired was teaching art and doing energy work. I have certification in hypnosis. I do custom meditations. I do readings, tarot card readings, and just straight readings, face to face readings. So anything along those lines is always caught my interest. And like I said, the older I get, the more I realize there's more out there, and you just don't know. So I, everything catches my interest. Student of life is a good answer.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Can you tell me a little bit more how you got certified to be like a hypnosis and or hypnotist and like the training or what you had to do?
Yeah, well, when I was my mother actually passed away when she was very young. She was in her 50s. And before that, as a matter of fact, let me go back even further. Like when I was 7, 8 years old, she would say stuff like, "Gee, your uncle's coming over for dinner." And I'd be like, "Oh, go buy a ham it used to be Demoulas before it was Market Basket." And I'd say, "They're on sale." And so she'd always say to me, "How do you know that?" And I always thought I was going to get in deep yogurt. So I'd go, "I don't know, I made it up, I made it up." But my mother was very intuitive. So she kind of figured out, what was going on. So when I was old enough, she took me to this woman in New Hampshire who's no longer with us either. And the woman said to her, "Well, she has a lot of ability, but she doesn't know what to do with it. The best thing you can do for her is educate her." So my mother, who was very open to energy work, especially in that time, it's kind of rare. But so we would go to seminars, we would go to workshops, and when I was old enough, I would go by myself, and I'd come home and I'd say to her, "Well, I have homework. I'm going to try sending you a thought form now. So, come and sit on the sofa here. I'm going to send you this emotion." So she actually was very supportive, and it's like anything else. I believe that everyone is intuitive, but it's the same thing as cooking. Everyone can cook, but if you really like cooking and you go to culinary school and you cook all the time, you seem like a gifted cook. So you're
Right.
just kind of developing that muscle. So I did all of that with her, and then independently when she was gone. And at a young age, I had signed up for Jose Silva's Mind Control, and it was a certification program for energy workers. Okay, hypnotists. I didn't get my hypnosis certificate from there, but I got a intuitives certification there. We had to attend all these classes on meditation. We used to do memory pegs, like try to remember stuff. Like if you were going to the grocery store and you had to get um, sugar, onions and milk, then you would just remember the word some. And then when you got into the store, you were supposed to just remember without making a list. You were just supposed to remember what you were supposed to get. And of course, the longer the list, the bigger the words. And if you had to, you could make a sentence out of it. So we had weird things like that. We were not allowed to use alarm clocks to get up. And classes started like at 7 o'clock in the morning. They ran from 7 in the morning till 5 at night. It was like this accelerated, like exhausting type of thing. And you were not supposed to use an alarm clock. And I had to get up at 6 o'clock because it was like an hour drive from wherever I was. And I was so afraid that, I wouldn't get up. I said to the instructor at the time, so what happens if I don't get up? You better get up. You better get here and get here on time. So I was like, all right, I'm going to don't set your alarm. And I said, well, if I don't get here on time, it's your fault. And I would wake up, like, no kidding, like 2 minutes before I was supposed to get up because it must have just been on my mind while I was sleeping or whatever it was. But I never was late for that class, not even once. And I did not set my alarm because I wanted to see if I could do it. You know what I mean? So I did. And as part of the certification program, one of the things that we had to take was mediumship. Now, mediumship was never something that I was interested in. I just took it because it was part of the course and you needed to get the credits to get the certification. So, and my mother had already passed at that point, but she was gone only like a year. So, so I'm taking this class, and the instructor leads us through this meditation, and you become very calm and peaceful and all this good stuff. And after you're feeling relaxed, you're supposed to think of someone, call it to like your mind's eye, someone in spirit that you'd like to make contact with. So, of course, I chose my mother. And what I saw was this young woman, okay, which I knew she was my mother, but she didn't look the way I remembered her, but I knew it was supposed to be a picture of her. So I'm looking at her and looking at her, and I'm like, Ma, I miss you. Do you miss me? And she kind of smiled at me and she said, yeah, but not in the way that you mean. And I'm like, well, what the heck does that mean? When the way, so, so when she smiled, she had these like vampire teeth, right? And I'm like, oh my God, my mother's a vampire. So now, in the break, I kind of corner the instructor and I said, can I talk to you for a second? He was like, yeah. So I said to him, look at it. When you told us to try and make contact with someone, I said, I visualized my mother. I said, but what I saw, I said, even though I knew it was her, I said, didn't look like her. She looked a lot younger, blah, 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 this and that. And he said, well, she might have appeared to you that way because maybe that was that like the happiest time in her life. And so now she's staying that way. She's comfortable that way. I was kind of like, yeah, okay, I guess that, that could fit. I didn't mention the vampire teeth because I had convinced myself that I just made it up. So on my way home, I stopped over at my uncle's house. Now, my uncle was my mother's brother and also very open to, and he knew I was taking the classes and he'd be like, oh, what'd you learn today? And blah, blah, blah. So, of course, I went to see him. And so I'm describing what I saw during the meditation. So I said to him, I said, did she have anything weird going on with her teeth? I said, she smiled at me, and when she did, she kind of looked like a vampire to me. I said, she had these teeth coming out this way. So he's looking at me and looking at me, and so he said, well, wait, so he goes to his room. I can hear him kind of rifling through papers. So he comes out with this picture, and it's like a really old picture. It's like those just brown, no color, and this and that. So I'm looking at it and looking at it, and I said, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, well, yeah. And it was her when she was a teenager, believe it or not. And so her hair was a different color and it was a different length. And she was smiling in the picture and she had the vampire teeth in the picture, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm like, what is that? Where did those vampire teeth come from? And what he said is that her eye teeth, these teeth, the ones that look like fangs, he said her baby ones never fell out, so her adult ones grew over them. So they protruded. And then, of course, she had the back ones pulled eventually, and, they were okay. But that's the whole vampire thing. So the reason that I tell you that story is because I'm sure that my mother appeared to me in that way so that there would be no doubt in my mind that this was a real connection. Because first of all, I didn't know her when she was a teenager, and I certainly did not know she had vampire teeth. Okay. So that's not something that I could come up with, even if I wanted to. So for me, that I think she appeared to me that way just to cement and really convince me that this was a very real connection that was being made. So from that day on, I certainly believe in spirit, and she, my family grew up. And we had a troubled childhood. We had an abusive parent, which in my case was my father. And so a lot of the time, you were kind of in survival mode. And so I just remember her saying to me, I wish I had done more for you while I was alive. And she said, but now she said, I can help you. I can help you with your energy work and your life and blah, blah, blah. And so it doesn't matter what I do. At first I would make the conscious effort to connect with her. And after so many years, because it's been a lot of years now, she was 59, she was 50. So, so it's been a lot of years. And now I just, I'll be doing something and I'll hear her voice in my head. I say, well, don't go that way, go this way, and I'm like, really? And the one time that I decided, no, I'm going this way, I got pulled over for an expired sticker. So now, and my mother says, go this way. I go, okay, and just have learned to do what I'm told. So she actually, you know, kind of helps with all the energy work that I do and so on and so forth. So she's quite the character still. So.
So do you when you visualize her, is she still a teenager with the vampire teeth, or is she how you
No,
remember
and now
her?
I see her the way I remember her. And a
Okay.
lot of times I don't see her at all. I'll just be driving or walking or whatever, and I hear her voice. And I've learned, you recognize your parents' voice certainly, but you can tell the difference I can tell between her voice and, say, another spirit that comes in type of a thing. So yeah, I mean, sometimes I actually see her. We don't live in the house where her and my father brought us up. Um, when she passed away, my mother and father passed away within a month and a half of each other, but the spirits stayed in the house, and I lived there with my brother and his daughter. And he would say things like, do you see Ma in the house? I think I see her, blah, blah. And I'd say, yeah. And so he'd get all flipped out about it, right? Said to him, well, were you afraid of her when she was alive? No. And I'd say, well, why are you afraid of her now? Well, because she's dead. She's not supposed to be here. And I said, no. So I remember, meditating and connecting with her and saying, look, you're scaring the dickens out of your son. Can you please. And after a couple of weeks, I just said to him, do you still see her? He said, no. So, I mean, she's very cognizant, and, we communicate at this point on a daily basis. And like I said, I've really learned to listen. Uh, so it's very helpful.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you like kind of started getting into it like when you were younger. Did your friends at the time, like, did they find it odd what you were doing, or were they really excited?
They were excited about it. They'd be like, "Oh, can you give me a reading?" Or my girlfriends would want about guys. Does he really like me and stuff? I go, I don't know. But it was I would think about someone, and thinking about them sometimes would open up that connection. So all of a sudden I'd feel happy or sad or whatever. And then I learned to, because it feels like your own feelings. It's like one minute you're totally happy, the next minute you might be frustrated. So I had to kind of figure out and learn, where are those feelings coming from? Was I just thinking of someone? Because it can make you a little bit crazy, like, okay, I was just feeling really good. Now I'm not feeling really good. What happened between, this minute and a minute ago? And it's the difference between knowing what is energy coming in and what is your own energy. So, So the friends were they were supportive, but um, as I got older, I actually didn't start reading cards until I was a lot older. And I had this reader. Her name was Darlene, and she's still with us. And she came over and she was reading a standard deck of cards, but she was doing intuitive reading. So I said to her, "How are you doing that?" And she said to me, "Well," she said, "it's like tarot cards." She said, "But," she said, "I like them better because," she said, "there, if you think about it," she said, "there's four suits in a standard deck. There's four seasons. There's 13 weeks to a season. There's 13 cards to a suit. Um, 52 cards in the deck. There's 52 weeks in a year." So she said, "So I find that they really relate to life. And so I read playing cards." So I said, "Well, that's really cool. Teach me how to do that." And she goes, "You don't need to." She said, "You have so much ability." And I said, "That's all right." I said, "Teach me anyway, because the cards can be good validation." So she did, and they were very interesting. And there's an actual word for reading a standard deck of cards. It's called cartomancy. And if you read a regular deck of cards, you're called a cartomancer. So I did that actually for a couple of years, but the artwork on the tarot cards really called out to me. And so I did want to learn how to use them, and then did. So I went to someone and learned them. And after so many years, I actually started teaching other people as well. So that's still to this day. And tarot card reading, it can be somewhat subjective. One of the things that my teacher told me is that if you look at an ace of swords and I tell you it means new beginnings, that every time you see it, it means a new birth, then that's what it means, a new birth. So I'd be like, "Oh, okay." So the tarot cards can be subjective. I mean, there is a kind of definition for the cards and the suits and so on and so forth, but eventually you create a very personal and strong relationship with the cards that so you're actually engaging in your own intuition and cultivating your own intuition. We actually started, and I think we'd had like 5 meetings already, but a couple of months ago, I started an intuitive encounters support group, which you might be interested in. And what it is people just coming together, and we practice reading the cards and just using our intuition. Using your intuition is actually more important than reading the cards. So some of the people in the group have never been trained. They just look at the cards and I say, "Okay, well, what are you feeling? Does the card make you feel happy, sad, upside down? What are you thinking?" So we actually kind of go around the table. We're working in the art room down here for now. And a person will ask a question, and then they're read by each person around the table. So you would be a good addition to that. I'll send you the date, and maybe you want to come. The
Yeah,
next
my
one.
mom is in the background. She's going, "I want to go. I want
Oh,
to
me
go."
too, me too. It's the next one is October 21st, I believe, but I'll look it up and let you know for sure. And we've had some pretty decent stuff come out of that. Like I said, still relatively new, so maybe we'll make changes as we go along. But every time I try to say, okay, there's so many people and everyone wants a question answered, let's try and stick to that. Doesn't work. It just takes on an energy of its own. And because everyone in the room is kind of merging their energy, it's pretty amazing. We get some pretty amazing stuff there. So that would definitely add to your journalistic experience. You could add that to it.
Yeah,
So
I know in depth and
yeah,
actually
very, very
there.
much.
Um, okay, so you said you were a art teacher before you so how did you transition?
I have been drawing, I have been doing both for such a long time. And as I got older and realized that that's what I wanted to do for a living, people would say to me, "Well, you have to make up your mind. Do you want to do energy work or do you want to do artwork? You can only do one. You have to focus on one." So I'd say, oh, okay. So I'd do the art and then I would still make time for the other stuff and I would miss it. So I'd say, oh, all right, well, I'm missing the energy work. So it must be energy work. So I'll focus on the energy work and push the art aside. So I did that for a while. Then I really missed the art. So it wasn't until I listened to myself and did both that things actually came together. So, I mean, we do a meditation and then people paint their auras or they may paint what they see for a guide, this type of thing. When I started merging the two disciplines together, art and energy work, and they're both right hemisphere of the brain oriented, that's when I was happy when I did both. I couldn't do just one or the other. So beside the intuitive stuff, I went to UMass Lowell and all this good stuff. I went to community college and it'll come to me. And so I actually did both and still do both now. I mean, you can develop your own tarot cards, all kinds of stuff. I make meditation wheels, dotted mandalas, okay, and I think you've seen some of them and stuff. So the only way I was truly happy is doing both. So, and that happened at a relatively young age because 16, 17 years old, it's like go out and get at least a part-time job so you can help pay for school and blah, 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 and this and that. So I knew I did work outside as a computer operator for a number of years, but I knew that I needed to do my own thing. So I actually at one point worked three jobs because everything that I would read, I'm such a Virgo. I read everything about so everything I read at that point in time said, you have to have X amount of dollars in the bank if you're going to start your own company because it takes X amount of time to get it off the ground and blah, 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 this and that. So I killed myself. I was like working three jobs, go to school at night, be up till 1 o'clock in the morning doing homework, and then get up in the morning and start all over again. So, if I had to do it over, I'd do it a little bit different. But at that time, that was the way that I did it, and that was the best choice. And so at that point, I had to make up my mind, where did I want to put my energy? So the best answers came when I did both. So I mean, I physically did a lot of artwork. I worked probably 5 years to save enough money to start my own business. And then, I started to work part time. So I eventually just kind of weaned myself off of a paying job and started my own business. I have a legal DBA in Haverhill. It's called Jones Art Gallery. People go, "Do you have a real art gallery?" I say, "No." It's my art studio is also my gallery. But to have a DBA, your name has to be in the DBA. So it was like, all right, what am I going to call this? Jones Art. So so I did a lot of artwork. I joined the art association here in Haverhill and also joined the art association in Chelmsford when I lived in Billerica and got my first ribbon from the Chelmsford Art Association. So that's really cool and that moves you forward. But talking to all those people and working with the colors, okay, and then doing the aura readings and seeing color work in people's auras. So they just totally merged for me, and that made me happy. That made me feel more complete. So, and then of course the hypnosis came in. Mine's all about personal need. I used to smoke, and I thought to myself, oh, I can't smoke. I can't be a professional and be a smoker too. That just doesn't fit. So I tried to quit a number of times. At first, I thought I don't have to quit at all. I'll just only smoke like 2 cigarettes a day. That's never going to kill me. So I couldn't do that. That did not work. So then I thought, all right, let me quit. So I quit for 4 months and missed it. And I said, okay, now that it's not in my system anymore, I should be able to have just 1 or 2 cigarettes. That doesn't work either because your body like tries to make up for what it's missing. So after about the fifth time of doing that, because I really, really did not want to quit, I realized that I had to. So so I went to a hypnotist and I said, look I said, I've tried, 4 or 5 times on my own. I said, I think I need a little bit of help. I said, now after 4 or 5 months, I said, you don't have a nicotine addiction anymore. It's out of your system. So that means it's in my head. I said, so can you get it out of my head? So yeah, he cracked up laughing. And what he did was like a meditation, a guided meditation, relax, rest your muscles, do this, do that. And then at some point, he would just give a suggestion. Okay. And I'm laughing because I'll tell you what I did to some poor person afterwards. Um, so I stopped smoking for about a year. And then after that, I really did want to start smoking again and did start. So I thought, okay, hypnosis was the most successful. So let me learn about hypnosis. So I did learn about hypnosis. I got my certification and I wrote my own scripts. So I would just listen to them, and I haven't, it's been decades since I've had a cigarette. And I didn't go through any withdrawal or anything because of the hypnosis. But I had one poor woman, she ate French fries all the time. This is not a good story, so I don't know if we should probably undo
Off the
this one.
record.
But it's, but it's like she was like, Joan, she said, if you can get yourself to stop smoking, can you get me to stop eating French fries? So I said, oh yeah. I said, you don't want to eat French fries? She goes, no. She said, I eat them all the time. My skin breaks out. This happens, that happens. So I put her in the meditation chair over here. And once I realized, she was relaxed enough, I said to her, imagine, that you're looking at this, plate of French fries and blah, 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 and this and that. And, your mouth is watering and you're just like so excited, the anticipation of eating these French fries. I said, now, I said, as you get close to them, I said, they're really soggy cigarette butts. Like, see,
Ooh.
see that face you're making? I thought she was going to fall right off the chair. I said, and smell it. I said, ugh. I said, are you going to really put that poor thing? By the time I was done with her, if you just said the word French fry to her, she'd want to like totally puke, right? So I, I said, well, you said you didn't want to eat French fries. She goes, Joan, she said, can you fix it? She said, people eat French fries in front of me and I want to barf all over them and this and that. I said, yeah, I said, let's work on that. So we had to, tell her that they didn't really look like, they just sort of smell like a little bit, and only if she decided to eat them were they going to be bad. But
Oh.
I laugh at that because she was like, I don't care what you have to do, just I don't want to ever eat another French fry. I'm like, okay. So, some people, it's easy to put them under, and other people, I'm not really easy to hypnotize because I have a very strong personality. So if someone tries to hypnotize me, I'm comparing what they do to what I do. Do you know what I mean? Instead
Mm.
of doing what they're telling me to do. So that was, I'm like, okay. So it definitely has its place. I do hypnotism, not hypnotherapy. And excuse me, uh, I was, we were way out somewhere doing a bunch of and it was a group of, I think it was like Hudson, Mass. It was like a long ride for me to get there. But if I get a sense that I'm supposed to be somewhere, I follow through. So I did the readings and everything was kind of, uh, uh, going normally, I guess. And then this one woman comes over and she's talking to me, but she's talking to me like this, and you could tell like she's trying not to move her mouth. So I said to her, look at, I said, whatever is going on with you, I said, you should try some like hypnotherapy type thing. Well, do you do that? And I said, well, I said, a hypnotist, yes. I said, but hypnotherapy, I said, works more with the medical stuff. Well, I feel like I want to come to you. So I said to her, I would do it. I said, but you need to understand, I said, that I would just be experimenting on you basically. And so, come to find out, talking to her, she was raking her yard. She stepped on the rake, it came forward and hit her in the face.
Oh.
And when her face healed, certainly, but the nerves inside just kind of bunched together and they send a constant signal of pain to her brain.
Oh.
So I said to her, I'm a little ways out, and she's like, I don't care. She said, I just get a feeling that you can help me. I said, okay. So her husband drove her here, and he's talking to me, and he said, I hope you really can help her. He said she's lost a lot of weight because it hurts her to eat. She hasn't smiled in 7 years. And he said one time she tried to kill herself because she's in pain all the time. And I'm like, oh my God. So I had a girlfriend who does Reiki healing, and I had asked her to come in. I said, once I put her under, I said, will you do a healing on her? She said, yes. So, I got permission from the woman and so on and so forth. And, she went, as soon as I told her to relax, we were going to put her into a deep state of relaxation. She was gone. She was out like a light. So, so what I said to her is that we were going back in time to that day when she was raking her yard. I said, and now, I said, you're stepping on the rake. I said, you can see out of the corner of your eye that the rake handle is coming toward you. I said, move your head out of the way. I said, see, I said, it missed you. I said, the rake never hit you. I said, now all the nerves inside your face can go back to the way they were before, the way, God intended. So, so at that point, even when she was under hypnosis, I said to her, so and so is here, and she's going to help with the healing. And so the woman did healing on her for about 20 minutes. I had her under for a good 20, 25 minutes. This woman was under for like 45 minutes. I've never had anyone under that long. And when I tried to get her out, she did not want to come out. I'd say to her, all right, now I'm going to count from 3 to 1, blah, I'm going to snap my feet. So she would not come out of the hypnosis. So I said to her, I said, okay. I said, you feel very good there? Yes. I said, all right, you can stay there. I said, for another couple of minutes. I said, then you have to come back to the room. So her husband, I had made him wait upstairs because I didn't want him to be an interruption or anything like that. So I asked him to come down. I said, we come down. I said, ask your wife to open her eyes and come back to the room. And when he did, she did. She opened her eyes and she looked at him and she looked at me and she went just like this. She smiled, right? And she went, oh my God. She said, this is the first time in 7 years I'm not in pain. And I'm like, oh, that's really good. Don't smile. I'm like, don't let it take hold. I didn't know. I wasn't sure. So, so her husband's looking at her and he said, really? He said, doesn't hurt at all? She said, no. She said, this is the first time. She said, in 7 years. She said, I haven't been in pain. And they tried. She wasn't a candidate for surgery because of where it was located in her face. And she didn't find the drugs were helpful, but the hypnosis actually helped her. So, so I want to say, I said to her, make sure you keep in touch because I was interested to know if it was going to endure. Because when I quit smoking with the other guy, it lasted for about a year. And then I had to reinforce it with my own suggestions. So she called me about a month later and she was still doing good a month later. And then I didn't hear from her after that. So I'm assuming no news is good news. Um, but your brain is an amazing, amazing thing. And I'm very interested in the physicality of the brain. And, I have a nerdy side apparently. And any book by David Eagleman, and he's a neurologist and talks about what's actually going on in your head, which is totally amazing to me. So, but like I said, at this point, I'm trying to kind of at least semi retire a little bit. So I haven't really done a lot of parties. We did one of the women in the support group was asked me to do some tandem work with her, and I say yes, you know. So I think if someone asks you for help and it's something that you can do, you should do it, okay? So we did some of that, and that actually was fun to actually be part of that again after so many years. Um, so it's a continuing, it's an ongoing thing, and it's an ongoing growth experience for sure.
Yeah. Would you say like you had like a favorite form? So like if someone calls you, like would you prefer like a tarot reading to like a hypnosis session, or like do you feel like they're all kind of equal?
They're all kind of equal, and usually, you know, you can kind of tell what's needed by what people are asking you. You know, sometimes they'll be on the phone and they'll be like, you know, I lost so and so, and I just, you know, I can't get through the day. Well, then they probably need a reading slash mediumship type thing. Okay. And you can actually even, you know, if someone's paying really close attention to you and they're kind of looking in your eyes, you can actually even give them a suggestion without them knowing about it. To be honest with you know, you can just kind of give them the suggestion that they feel good. Are they going to make that the deceased person's because they were in your life, it made you that much happier or it added value to your life. So there's actually a way to kind of incorporate them all, but you're right, there is usually a focus on one or the other or a couple. Okay, so when someone is in meditation, they want a guided meditation, find it really hard to just relax, Joan. Can you help me with that? Sure. So you relax them and then you give them a suggestion that you know the more you listen to this the quicker you relax you go deeper. Okay, so that's they sometimes the lines cross a little bit, but you can always kind of tell. And after so many years, and like I said, my mother facilitates, sometimes I'll be doing a reading and my mother will say, well, say this or I tell her this or that, and I'm like, okay, you know, so I just do it. And so I want to say I don't know if I have a favorite. I did I taught myself how to read runes one time, and I didn't quite stay with that. They're Nordic symbols, usually on stones or ceramic pieces. And while they were very, very interesting, for some reason, I didn't go too much further with that. One of the guys in the support group reads them all the time, so he actually brought them with him to the last to meeting, and now he's moved to uh, Portsmouth, I think, Portland, wherever the college is, Portland, I think, Portland, Maine. So now he's about an hour and a half away. So he's like, "Oh, I can I Zoom it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We can Zoom you." I said, "But," I said, "I do have a guest room." I said, "Just come and stay because they run late. There's so many of us. We usually start right 6:30. Everyone comes in. We kind of chit chat, give everyone till 7 to get there. So we pretty well run till like 10, 11, you
Oh
know.
wow.
So it's late. So some people leave earlier because they typically on Thursday nights, and you know, some have to get up and go to work and so on and so forth. So, you know, some people are leaving. And like I said, I tried to cap like the time and the answer. Doesn't work. Just doesn't work. It just takes on an energy on its of its own. So I just let it do its thing, you know.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. It sounds
You'll
so
like it. You'll like it.
I'll skip class for that, sure.
Absolutely.
My mom's going, no, in the background.
Tell her she can come. She can come. That will make her say yes.
Yeah, okay. Um, so what's your favorite thing about like working with people all the time?
When they when you can feel a shift in their energy, it's like when I do a fun and paint night, people are always like, "Oh my God, I didn't know I could do something like that." And it just is the most marvelous feeling. When you do a meditation or you do a hypnosis with someone and they say, "Oh my God, I really do feel better." Or, "Oh yes, it has made a change." That's feels that feels awesome, actually. And it's like to really work with someone on that level, you have to get right into their energy with them. So there is an exchange of energy that takes place. You can feel their energy, they can feel your energy, and hopefully, there's some healing that takes place, there's energy that comes through you. And when you see, that person's face light up, or, their excuse me, a lot of people, as a matter of fact, every person, comes in because they're trying to make a decision, because things have happened in their life, or they're looking for closure, whatever it might be. I've been reading for over 40 years. Don't put that pun in. Just a long time. And in all that time, no one has ever come to me and just said, gee, I have this really awesome, wonderful life. I'm just here to make sure it stays that way. They come in because, they have a decision, they have something that's happened that they need to discuss, or that something's going on with them. So when they leave and they actually feel better, and you can actually feel that shift in their energy, that's the good stuff for me. Definitely.
So if you weren't doing this, do you think you would still be working with people in some capacity?
Yeah, always, always. I always thought I wanted to work with older people, and I thought to myself, well, what could I do for them? Nothing, You're going to go do a mediumship for old people? I mean, they're old. They've had a lot of loss. You're probably just going to. So again, that's where the art kind of overlaps. And I started doing some work with some of the Council on Aging, and I do meditations for them. I show them how to relax their body, how to deal with some of the issues they have, like arthritis or worry. Some of them don't sleep well, so we can give them suggestion to help them sleep. And then, of course, there's the whole art thing. And I actually last year took a course it's to do artwork with like Alzheimer's and older people who have um, dementia, age-related dementia, this type of thing. So again, it's the energy work with the artwork. Um, so yes, yes, I would always be working with people for sure. And like I said, I have a pendant towards older people only because, they have given up so much in their lifetime. Women typically outlive the men, and in on the earth, there's more women than there are men, and that goes back to primordial times when the idea of the species was to propagate itself. So there were many more women to one man, and he would sleep with as many women as possible to have as many offspring as possible. Now we have plenty of people on the earth, so we don't need to do that. But typically, the women outlive the guys, and I know working at the Drake Council on Aging, I like to sing. I play the ukulele, I play piano. I'm very musically inclined. Anything right-brained, I like to do. So in my semi-retirement years, I have been trying to focus a lot on those. And so when I was at the Drake Council on Aging, they would put on these little variety shows, and they had a course where they would sing. And so they're like, oh, join, join. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. So I did. So I joined the singing group, and it was led by this guy. And that's not the problem. The problem was that he called them cutie pies, cutie pies. The group was called Cutie Pies, and it was all women, and there might have been a guy or two, but he called them cutie pies, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. And so I said to the group as a whole, one time with him standing there, I said, look it, I said, maybe it's just me. I said, but do we really want to be called cutie pies? I said, how about the DCOA chorus, or, the choral group, or whatever the heck? I said, but a little bit more dignified. So he says to me, no, he said, it's a compliment. They're all cute. They're all cutie pies. They're old now and they're still cute. And I said, these women, and he was old himself. He did not mean it as as a degrading comment, but it's certainly, like I said, I don't get violent very often, but I certainly want to smack him into a coma. But I said to him, well, I said, these women, I said, these cutie pie little women, I said, some of them have been in the service. I said, some of them have quit their jobs to bring up their families. Some of them have taken care of sick people in their family. I said, these cutie pies, I said, they're not these little weakling things that you're assigning these little incident. I said, these are strong women. So a couple of the women said, yeah, we really would like to be called like the Drake Choral Group or the Holiday Choral Group. So he wasn't overly excited about it, but he kind of came around, and I'm thinking to myself, Joan, here you are, you're trying to spread this good energy and you're creating dissension here. So, I apologized. I said, look, I said, it's not my goal to create dissension. I said, but I said, these women, I said, they're not just old people that should be brushed aside. I said, these are strong women who gave up their lives pretty much to bring up families, like I said, one woman is retired Navy, for crying out loud. So to make a long story short, he would say things like, "Oh, the cutie pie. Oh, I mean the Drake it coral." It was one of those deals. So I tried to step aside a little bit, and then one of the guys came after me and said, "No, no, you have to. We need your big mouth. I have a loud voice." So I said, "Yeah, okay." So and then COVID kind of descended on everyone. So we'll see what happens with that for this year. But last year we didn't have a variety show, so it was a non-issue. But cutie pies really just rubbed me the wrong way right from day one. And I was like, okay, let's do something about that. And like I said, I kept my mouth shut for as long as I could, but it was torture. It was torturous. I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I'm like, we're not cutie pies, I said. And I could probably sock you and prove it. So, no, no, don't hit me, Joan. I said, okay. Yeah.
I think you should have.
I think so too. But he has a bad back, so we won't do that.
You can hypnotize him to like do something like I
I'd
don't know,
like to hypnotize him, all right. Oh, no, I'll be good. I'll be good. Okay.
make him hate his favorite food or something.
Your favorite food smells like dirty ashes in a wet ashtray. That's a good one. I can do that.
So outside of like singing and playing instruments, do you have any hobbies you like to do?
I'm lucky enough that what I do to support myself is what I really love to do. I had read an article, and it was a lot of years ago, so hopefully that's changed, but it said only 1% of the workforce actually makes a living doing something that they love to do. So I'm lucky because I would do energy work, I would paint, I would do all this stuff, whether I got paid for it or not. So I mean, I'm really happy that people pay me for it because I do have to have a roof over my head. But if I had kept that computer job, I still on the weekends I painted, I did this, I did that. So those are the things that I like to do. And so the only thing that I do more of now than I did before was the music, and I do I do like to sing, and I like I said I play the ukulele, I play the piano, and we sing and we do a lot of gigs. It's a very active group, so especially over this summer and stuff, we have been playing out just about every weekend. And we have a core group of songs that we kind of all know, but if we do something special that we don't know, then that means there's a lot of practices for this gig, practices for that performance. So that makes it difficult. I have a new niece that was born that I'm really close to, but she lives in Connecticut. So now I'm trying to run back and forth to Connecticut in between. So that keeps me busy, but she's a little doll. She'll light your life right up. I bought her a baby grand piano, and so we sit on the floor and we play it together. And I got her some drums. I did get permission from the parents first, but she can play her drums. She's very musically inclined already, and she just a little over 1 years old, and she can sit at a drum set and play. So she's
How far away are they in Connecticut?
There, it takes me about an hour and a half to drive. The part that's good is mostly highway. I live, I have pretty easy access to the highway. I live close, only a couple miles, and then they're only a couple miles off the highway in Connecticut. So it takes me about an hour and a half driving straight through.
Well, that's not too bad.
It's not bad. And I usually stay a couple of days. So, that means anytime I want, everything that I have to do during the week, I push it onto the front part of the week so that I can have the weekend free. So that fills the week up quite a lot, you know.
Mhm.
So having her in my life is definitely worth it. She's a little doll. So I'm going to
You
see
ever
her
see
this weekend.
yourself like permanently going to live out in Connecticut with them, or?
Um, you know what, my sister lives out there too. And so that's the idea, eventually, sell your house, come live with us, blah, blah, blah. And so it's not, I wouldn't rule it out completely, but at this point in time, I'm very enmeshed in the music community and the older women and stuff that I work with. I'm very attached to them, and they become not only students, they become friends. Before COVID, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna take a trip to Atlantic City. Why don't you come with us?" And I'm like, "Really?" I said, "I've never gone to Atlantic City or gambled or did anything like that." So we went. There were like 10 of us. And that was a couple of years ago. I have a feeling that place is still recovering from our visit. We had a blast. We had a blast. It was a lot of fun. So I'm attached to them. They have become friends. So I still have I have two group classes running here, and I have three private lessons going on. So I'm still very close to the students. The Ook group, like I said, is extremely active. We play out, I would say, an average of at least a couple of times a month, sometimes more. So that's a lot of practice. They're Southern New Hampshire based, so most of the action happens in the southern part of New Hampshire. Bradford is kind of on the southern New Hampshire line, but everything is north of me. So there's still enough to keep me here, okay? And there's enough to keep me there, so I run back and forth in the meantime. But so maybe at some point in the future, I would do that, sell here and go live with them. But things would have to quiet down quite a bit here first.
Fair enough, fair enough. You're still young, have plenty of time.
Yeah, and and like I said, the encounters group is relatively new and it's kind of exciting and fun. And I suppose I could start one in Connecticut. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But at this point in time, there aren't any immediate plans to do that. But it's not off the list.
I think if you do start one in Connecticut, a couple years down the line, you should call it Cutie Pies 2.0.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, I just have one final question. Well, I guess I have two questions.
I have two final questions. I love it.
The first one is, do you have anything to say to people who might want to start practicing with energy work?
Yes, do it. It's like the more you practice, the better you get at it. Like I said at the beginning, it's like cooking. Everyone can cook, everyone has that ability. But if you really enjoy it, and you study it and you practice all the time, you get really, really good at it. And it was one of the reasons that I started the Encounters support group because you don't need to be formally trained. All you need to do is learn how to trust your own intuition. So these people are sitting around the table over here. Someone's asking a question, and you can not only hear what the other readers are saying, but you can see the cards that they're pulling. You can get there's a lot of feedback. And so it really does help people. And my goal with the Encounters group is not to make readers out of everyone. It's for people to not only know that intuitiveness is a natural part of who they are, but that they can trust it, they can listen to it. Okay, so if you say, oh, okay, I need to do a project, okay, and I have this to choose from or that to choose from, and you really kind of sit and see what you get good vibes from and make a choice based on, how you feel about it or what you're guided to do. And then that turns out to be totally awesome. Then you say, gee, I'm glad I listened to myself. If you choose the one that didn't feel comfortable, you say, I should have listened to myself. So that's my goal with the encounters group, is to get people to use their intuition consciously, not just say, oh, gee, I had a gut reaction, but use it consciously and develop that and be comfortable enough with it to use it on a day-to-day basis. So if someone says, I am interested and I don't know where to start, I would start with a book, or, Google. I mean, Google something, do a search, how do I start? So, I think learning how to read cards is a really good place to start, because when I read cards for people, you're putting out a lot of energy, but like I said, you're actually merging energy with the person you're reading, and then sometimes people in spirit recognize that as a channel. Okay, I can come in and talk to my daughter, my son, my wife, my husband. So that actually enhances the experience as well. So, just do it. And it's nothing worth doing is really easy. And anytime, you're learning something, um, when I first learned, I would say to people, I'm learning how to read, how would you like a free reading? But I would like an honest, feedback. And they'd say, oh, yeah, okay. No one ever said, no, I don't want to do that. So I would read for them and they would say, well, this is really accurate. I hadn't thought of it this way, but sort of was, but it was more accurate that. So you got some good feedback. And when you got really positive feedback, it would feed your confidence level goes up. So practice is always a good way. The first thing that I did when I first started learning is I would read books about energy work, about spirit, how to connect with spirit. So uh, spiritual growth by Sanaya Roman, Sanaya Roman, Roman, I think is how you spell her last name. She wrote the very first book I ever read that really helped me and made sense to me was called Spiritual Growth by Sanaya Roman. And then I read a few more of her books after that and stuff. But that was really eye-opening to me. Like there was this whole other energy world out there and that we were already connected to it, and so that was a really good first leap for me to help me understand what I was feeling, why I was feeling it, and what to do with it actually. So those are the things someone who's seriously considering doing energy, and everyone does energy work anyway, but if you're considering doing it for a living or as an everyday part of your life, learn about it and do it, and don't be afraid to, make mistakes. Sometimes you got to take a step forward and then a couple of steps back before you get where you want to go. But if you're persistent enough in anything, you'll do it. And that's everything, whether it be energy work, artwork, or engineering, whatever it is that you want to do. So,
Yeah, I feel like a common question too is like when they're starting out with spirit, they're afraid that like there's something evil that they could. Do you have
yeah.
any
Yeah,
things about that?
well, yeah, as a matter of fact, someone asked me about that recently. I believe that positive energy is stronger than negative energy. For a long time, I said, there's no such thing as negative energy. But in reality, maybe it's kind of naive to think that there's just good and not anything negative out there. But you can always keep a white light around yourself or anything that gives you a feeling of protection. You're actually very strong. Everyone has a lot of personal power, whether they realize it or not. So you can, I actually was speaking to an 11-year-old girl last weekend who sees spirits in her house, and her mother asked me to come and talk to her. And what I said to her, I said, close your eyes and imagine like a bubble? And she said, yes. And I said, and pretend that it's a safe bubble, an energy bubble, and that you can stand inside the bubble. It goes over your head and under your feet and all the way around you. And nothing can come through that bubble because you are protected. That bubble protects you, and it comes like straight from God. So you know it's a good bubble. And she went, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Can you do that?" She said, "Yeah." So I said to her, "Close your eyes." She closed her eyes. I said, "Can you visualize it now?" "Yep." "Is it over you, around you?" "Yep." I said, "Well, stay in that bubble. Whenever you feel uncomfortable, go into that bubble and just say, whatever's near me, go away." I said, "Because this is your dimension." I said, "You live here." I said, "They don't." I said, "So you just tell them," because she would say, I go to bed, she said, "and I don't mind them being there until I go to bed." She said, "Then I think they're under my bed." So I said to her, "When you go to bed, put your bubble, get in your bubble, and just say, 'Hey, I'm going to bed now. Everybody out,' like that. And so that's what she does. So I did contact her mother and say, how is she doing and stuff. Plus, we did go through the house a little bit and try to do a little bit of clearing here and there, which is not my forte. But like I said, it depends on who's doing the asking. If friends and family ask, then you kind of have to take it as guidance that, yep, you're supposed to try and do that. You're supposed to try and help. So we do.
So could you feel the same spirits that she was feeling?
Yeah, and I and actually, when I went into her bedroom, I felt like something dotted under her bed, and then she said to me, "When I go to bed at night, I feel like there's something under my bed." So I'm like, "All right." So I said to her, "Look at," I said, "Kids used to live in this house." I said, "And they see you playing and having a good time." I said, "So they want to play and have a good time with you." I said, "But they don't know that you're getting ready for bed. They're hiding under the bed and they're going in the closet and oh, they're playing like hide and seek." I said, "Yeah, they're playing in your room." I said, "So when you go to bed, just tell them, 'Hey, it's time for me to go to bed. Everybody out.'" And so I said, "You got to say it just like that. So I made her practice a couple of times. So but that's exactly before she even said anything. The minute I walked into her room, they went, choop. I went, "Oh, okay, there's kids in here," which means that they passed when they were children. So that's the unfortunate part. And I said to the woman who owned the house, I said to her, "Oh," I said, "How the heck old is this house?" Because she actually had generations of spirit in there. And she said the house was built in the 1800s, which I said, "Oh, okay. That explains that. So, so that was a very interesting evening for sure. Um, so, yeah, I do believe that there is some negative energy out there, and I just neutralize it with all the positive energy. And my mother is very protective in nature. Whenever I'm doing anything, if I veer off somewhere where I shouldn't, she'll say to me, "Oh, don't go there." And I'll say to her, "But mine," she'll go, "Don't go there." And I'm like, "Okay, we don't go there." So, like I said, you have a lot of personal power. Put protective light around yourself. Say a prayer. I had a spirit in a house one time that was just mischievous. It wasn't really mean or nasty, but it's just like flip the lights on and off and, you know, just pain in the butt stuff. So one day I said, "All right." I said, "Enough is enough here." I said, "It's really cool that you're here and blah, blah, blah." I said, "But now," I said, "it's time for you to go home." Because that's what my mother calls it. When people die, they go home to spirit. So I said, "It's time for you to go home." I said, "So what do you need? You want some prayers and blah, blah, blah." So I actually did. I said some prayers and stuff for him. And I said, "Now," I said, "you have to go." I said, "You can't go out to the grounds or out of the house. So you got to go home to spirit now. Your family, your friends are waiting for you, so on and so forth." And I said some prayers that I learned in catechism class, the Our Father and stuff. And he left. He was gone. I hadn't seen him since. So, so definitely, you're in it. I believe that positive energy is very strong, and it just needs to be directed. So, I mean, I suppose there's negativity out there. Um, I only saw it visually once, and that was enough. you know. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." It's like, "All right, I'm gonna go over here now. So, uh, but I think all energy is just energy, and you just have to infuse it with good energy, and that makes all the difference. But yeah, I think it would be naive to think that there's only good energy there.
Right. Okay. Well, that was all my questions, except for I have one formality question.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind answering, when is your birthday?
August 27th, 1953. So August 27th sets me up as a cuspy Virgo. Okay, born on the cusp of Leo. And every time anyone else has read me, they always think I'm a Leo because they say my personality is very outgoing and Virgos tend to be, more in the background. And I said, well, I actually both. I said, when I first started, doing talks in front of people and this and that, I used to have to hope that, my Leo side was out today. I said, now at this point, I said, you can kind of flip the switches back and forth a little bit. So, and I like to do numerology. I have a quadruple certification in numerology. So if you add all my numerals together, okay, you'll end up with an 8, which gives you a life path number. Okay, so if I add the 8 and the 27 and the 1953, take all those digits, comes out to 107. And then take the 1, the 0, and the 7, add them together, it comes out to an 8. Okay, an 8 life path number means that someone with an 8 will go through significant changes every 8 years. Days of the month that had 8s in them are good days for them to have decisions made on their behalf. What it means, holistically speaking, is that they do tend to be leaders rather than followers. And basically, what I find with 8s is that they pretty much have everything they need in life. But boy, oh boy, are we really having to work for it. You know what I mean? So you can tell a lot about a person not only by their life path numbers, but the combination of numbers that make up that life path number. That's also an interesting thing. And that I did a radio show in Essex just on numerology. I was a guest on the New England Ghost Project's radio show. That was very cool.
That is cool. You do a lot of like radio, television stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I have been a guest on New England Ghost Project. Uh, Another ghost projecty thing, and um, and then that radio station that we did the numerology with. Uh, for myself, I have the Intuitive Body and Soul, which is a cable show, and my co-host is Deborah Carpenter, and she um, founded the Halo Healing method. So she co-hosts the show with me. With the onset of COVID, we've been kind of zooming them and then sending them to our editor. The editor has fun trying to edit my videotaping expertise. Apparently, suckle is big time, so she's always trying to edit them and clear them up and clean them up and all kinds of things. But we do shows on the basic tenet of the show is to kind of showcase people who have found their passion and that they use that passion to make the world a better place. Okay, enter in the ukulele group. I got my first ukulele when I was in Hawaii and of course, had no idea how to play it. It was just a souvenir that I brought back home with me. And when I tried to play it, it was like, so I actually Googled and found out that there were actually quite a few ukulele groups in the area. So I signed up with 3 of them, figuring eventually, I would figure out which one I fit in with. And so the New Hampshire ukulele group, the first day I was there, I knew I was home. And these people, we play and we don't charge anything. But we actually have raised over $75,000 for the Ukulele Kids Club. Okay.
Mm.
As an artist, I am able to donate artworks for raffles. They actually painted on ukuleles that we've raffled off. So these are the type of people that we have on our show, because they love what they do and they use that to make the world a better place. One of my favorites is Mike Stevens. He's a UFO experiencer, and he helps. He's the founder of Granite Skies, and he helps people who have had otherworldly experiences. And so I had him on the show and I'm saying to him, now this is going to be hard. I said, how do you know if someone's had a real experience or not? And so he looked at me and without missing a beat, he said, it doesn't matter. He said, if the person thinks that they have and they really believe they have, they're still going through the same psychological issues and blah, blah, blah. And he said, it's the people that matter. He said, not necessarily the thing. And I went, ah, I said, people first. And he's like, yeah. So, I mean, he's someone who makes the world a better place just by being in it. Okay. So, just we have the most amazing people on that show. I have been truly blessed and lucky to meet the people that I have met. And so we showcase them. And I have YouTubes of just about all of them, and I put them on my meetup site so people can access them. They're on the website, which is www.intuitivebodyandsoul.com. Okay, and the meetup site is just meetup/intuitive body and soul, a Facebook page, Intuitive Body and Soul. So people can access all the information from there, certainly. Um, During COVID, uh, Drake at TV asked me to do some tutorials for them. There are tutorials, but I've also done some energy tutorials as well. So all the YouTube links and whatnot, they're up on the websites. They're on their websites, my websites, and they are all over the place, baby.
So you don't mind if I like put like your Facebook page and your website and all that stuff
Oh,
up
that
on?
would be absolutely awesome.
Okay,
Yes, totally.
awesome. And then also, if you're open to it, I would love to have a picture of you for it. So I don't know if you have like a particular picture that you like that you would like me to use.
I will
Um,
send you some pictures and you can choose all by yourself. Okay,
okay,
my darling?
awesome. Thank you
All right.
so much. I
You
really
are
appreciate it.
so welcome. Thank you for the interview. This was awesome.
Of course. And you'll get a copy when I'm all done with it.
Very cool, very cool. All right, and so this, after it condenses or whatever the heck it does after, I'll send you the link, and that way you can see it and refer back to it and whatever your heart desires, my darling.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my darling. Bye-bye for
Have
now.
a, have a good night.
Yes, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.